when you're sitting with a pencil and a piece of paper and a guitar and you're all by yourself and you're just exploring your thoughts and your ideas and your emotions. That is a great way to connect with yourself.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Bill Abernathy. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I'm just doing great. I'm just on the last end of a 2-week road trip. So I'm looking forward to getting through the day and getting back home and having some time in my own space.
Oh, yeah. I know how that can be. So are you staying in the RV or are you doing the hotel life?
No, I'm a hotel guy. I consider Marriott's to be roughing it. So, yeah, I don't do the hotel. I don't do the RV thing. So, yeah.
I can well imagine. Well, it's a great pleasure to have you on the podcast. Originally, where do you reside in the States?
My home has been and shall continue to be in Kansas City, Missouri. So I've been there essentially my whole life. Love it. Love Kansas City.
It was wonderful. Give us one of your talents or the talent that's responsible for us connecting at this specific time, please.
Oh, well, I do a little singer-songwriter thing. So, I've been known to tell a few stories, and some of those stories evolve into a musical element of the story, and sometimes they evolve into a song. So I pretty much write songs about things that have happened to me and things that have happened to people in my life and events that have occurred. And sometimes folks like to listen to them. So that's kind of my thing.
Who did you learn that from, that ability to combine music and story from?
Well, I think that all music really is a story at some point. Of course, I was influenced musically by a lot of really great singer-songwriters. And as you look at, and evaluate some of the songs that have been known in that genre over the years, with, Bob Dylan and James Taylor and, Stephen Stills, Dan Fogelberg. In today's world, Dave Grohl is a great singer-songwriter from the Foo Fighters. I think they're all kind of a story, and they all have a message, and they all have a little bit of something that we can all take away from the lyric and utilize in our daily lives, whether it be a good thing or maybe it's something you don't want to do. But at the end of the day, I think they're all stories. And I think having been raised in a musical family and been involved in music essentially as long as I can remember, it seems quite natural for me to take the stories and the events that occur in my life and turn them into a song. So it's a very natural thing for me.
Notably, there comes with that calling the challenges, like being on the road, of course, showing up, everything that goes with it. Why will you continue, nevertheless, to press on in both songwriting and as well performing?
Yeah, I think that what you do artistically in your life is a big part of you. And I think at times, as we were discussing earlier, at times we all get really busy and things happen. And, one of those, sometimes it's really, really easy to take the artistic side of you and kind of put that back in the closet for a bit because you have to deal with reality. And though that's true, I think it's very important that we maintain contact with that. I think that there's parts of who we are and parts of our personalities that live in that artistic side. And so I think it's very important to maintain contact.
Beautifully said. Well, where's the best place for someone that's listening to connect? Well, I listened on YouTube, right? So I just typed in Bill Abernathy, and the thing that came up was your website, which is billalbernathy.com. But where would you point people to listen to your music?
Well, our music is out there, about any place that you want to go. Obviously, the website is one place. We've got some stuff out on YouTube, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, about any place that you would go to find your music today. You can find our stuff. So we're pretty fortunate in that it's out there and pretty easy to get a hold of.
Tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please. It could be something for fun.
Well, to be honest with you, to break away from the music thing, I bought a new loft in the Kansas City area and spent about 1.5 years renovating it. Wow. And it's in an old building that was built in 1880. and it's on the National Historic Register. And so I
Wow.
went in and bought it and completely ripped it apart and, renovated it from the floor up. And that was a really fun, challenging, cool thing to do.
How do you think that came to be, though? Like, I saw you did coaching before, right? But construction, was that something you did before?
A little bit. So, I built several houses or had houses built. There
Mm.
were a couple of the houses that I really got involved in. One house in particular, just because I wanted to prove that I could, I built it. Actually, I drove the bulldozer to dig the hole. So, and all the way up. So, just kind of show yourself that you could do those kind of things. I think it's fun. The
Mm.
loft in particular was really challenging because it's a completely different setup than building a house, right? You have a rectangle that you have to figure out and lay it out and get it all organized properly so that it works for you. But a lot of fun.
Mm.
Really enjoy it. It's a pretty unique space, and I enjoy staying there. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to getting back there Friday. I haven't seen it for a couple of weeks, so yeah.
When you look back at what you've accomplished, both musically and, of course, in the construction space, by putting your mind to achieving something that could seem impossible, how does that make you feel?
Well, I think that a lot of times we do that. We will take a task and we'll look at it and say, wow, this is big and this is really hard. And we tend to make it more complex than it needs to be. I have always been, and hopefully will continue to be, the guy that says, I can take a big task and break it down into little pieces and make it small enough that I can handle it. And, whether it's a construction project, whether it's building a baseball team, which, I've done many times over the years, whether it's building a loft or whether it's constructing a song, it's all kind of the same process. Keep things as simple as possible and put them together. It's kind of like a puzzle.
Love it. Amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live from Bill Abernathy. You can connect with him at billalbernathy.com or anywhere music is available. Bill, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm blue Caribbean water. Bill, what's your earliest childhood memory?
Wow. I'm kind of a guitar guy, so I have a lot. And I remember the Christmas morning that I received my very first all my own guitar.
Hmm.
And I remember it very vividly, just like it was yesterday. It was this huge triangular box that was sitting underneath the Christmas tree. And I got all excited because I got a big present. I was the youngest of four children. And oftentimes the baby doesn't get the great big presents. It's more for the older people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember ripping into that box and I saw that it came from Sears and I saw that it was a silver tone guitar. And I thought, man, I have arrived. I have my own guitar. Yeah, it was cool. As a matter of fact, I still have it. Yeah, it hangs on a
Wow.
wall in my loft. Yeah.
And how old were you in that memory?
6, 7, maybe. I started playing when I
Wow.
was really, really young. I had, again, from a musical family, and my brother played a bit. He was 9 years older than I. So I got fascinated with the guitar and, music, singing, songwriting, that kind of thing when I was really, really young.
We can definitely see the connection with the guitars. And of course, acoustic is one of your favorite styles of music, right? But if you had to connect metaphorically the concept of the gift, the gift that you got and the way you got it, do you see it connecting to who you are today?
Oh, I think without question. I think that the music side of me, that more creative side of me, there are parts of my personality that live there. So, it's a great way to express how you're feeling at the time. It's a great way to express emotions. It's a great way to kind of just become you. When you're sitting with a pencil and a piece of paper and a guitar, and you're all by yourself, and you're just exploring your thoughts and your ideas and your emotions. That is a great way to connect with yourself and try to be true to yourself. Try to
Mhm.
understand who you are and why you're thinking that way. So, yeah, that's a
Mm,
cool connection
I
for
love it.
sure.
If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
When I was 12 years old, there was a song back in those days called In the Year 2525.
Hmm.
And I honestly am not remembering the artist. Maybe that'll pop back in. But it talks about, how life is going to change, out in the future. And I don't know that I was 12, but I do know that that is the first 45 I ever bought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, Zaga and Evans, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, Zager and Evans.
What's really cool with that song too is like the guitars, like it's packed with guitars, right? Like both of them are playing guitars in that. Yeah, really, really cool. All right, well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly. Yeah, you ready, Bill?
Sure.
Bill, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Of course, I have children, and so I pass on what I do to them. My son is also a singer-songwriter, guitar player.
Are you married?
I have been. I was married for 35 years. I'm currently single.
All right, so you have how many children?
I have 2.
All right, do you believe in God?
Of course I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Absolutely not.
How about 3 hours a week?
Not much. I might watch it 30, 45 minutes a day at the most.
What about screen time? The phone and or the computer, is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Probably more than 8 because of my 2 worlds. I have my music world and I also have my corporate world. So I'm staring at screens quite a bit. Yeah.
Right, all right. Well, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Bill Abernathy, what would you say that is?
Well, I have a little mantra that I use with my music that says, if you hear a song that sounds like it may have been written about you, it could have been. That's a fact.
Love it, love it, love it. Bill, hey, this was such a great pleasure. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to have the discussion. Love what you do. Checked you out a bit, I think, as you did me. But I love what you do. I love your interviews, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience and kind of let them know what I'm doing. And it's a great opportunity. So very pleased to have had this discussion with you today.
Hey, it's a pleasure. I treasure. Really enjoyed your music, my friend. Keep pressing on. Willow Creek. Here we go. Bill, again, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.